Welcome to the OnPar podcast. I'm your host, Drew D. Alberto, along with my co-host, as always, Sean Kicker. Today on the program, we've got Dr. Bo Brooks, good friend of mine for about 12, 13 years, my chiropractor who saved me from having surgery when I got in a car accident. Thanks for being with us, Dr. Bo.
For sure. Thank you.
It's good to have you.
Thanks.
So we always start these with, tell us your golf story, and then we'll weave in business and the hurricanes and everything else afterwards.
Well, I was away from golf for many years, kind of against golf a little bit, obviously, because of my profession. It's great for my visit. And then about a year and a half ago, decided to get married, and my future in-laws, my father-in-law now, is a huge golfer. He's 76 and shoots a 77, so not too bad for a little lefty. And but my parents had gifted us with a trip to a place called Sage Valley up in South Carolina, and my cousin owns a place there. And I said, I'm going to play golf because we're playing golf for 4 days, and it's a caddy golf type of place. And I'm like, I am not a caddy golfer. So I picked it up just about a little over a year ago again.
Okay. How do you use golf for business?
Well, for business, as far as on the course or in my practice. So, in my practice, I obviously get people that are playing golf a lot and texting on the phone in all type course of ways. But for business, with the golfing every Saturday morning, I actually golf with another chiropractor, and he and I are at different places. But you know, people always talk about their aches and pains, or their wife's aches and pains, or their wife's that are pains, those type of things. And then, you know, we usually get them into the office if they're close to my office or close to his office. So it's a good marketing tool.
Perfect.
Yeah, I always said chiropractic saved my life. You know, when I was 27 years old, I picked up my 6-week-old son and papa, L5, L4, S1. And I mean, it's one of the worst injuries that you could have as a professional golfer.
Sure.
It almost ended my playing career, but chiropractic really got me back in there. And, you know, it's interesting how there's many different forms of chiropractic. And so if you could just share a little bit about how you work with golfers and some of the techniques that you use.
Right. So there's over 330 different chiropractic techniques, and I use about 9 of those. We are a full spine, hands-on office, but we also use extra instruments to adjust as well, depending on the person. The main technique I use is called flexion distraction technique, which is essentially you're lying on the table. The table is flexing back and forth to loosen up the lower spine. So somebody that has a disc problem, herniated disc, facet syndrome, it's a little bit more comfortable, and it also allows me to get things moving in different directions with the patient being relaxed. We do also have patients on their sides and twist and turn. However, somebody with a herniated disc can't do that with. And you've got to be a little bit more gentle. We also do spinal decompression, so which we will have the patient on their back and essentially have a harness on the patient to distract the lumbar spine and to help bring the disc back in place. And so there's a few techniques that we use, along with extremity stuff that I obviously have to use when I'm down at University of Miami.
Yeah, so tell us more about the athletes that you work with, specifically at University of Miami, but other athletes, because a lot of these athletes, when their playing days are over, they're going to wind up being golfers like us, right? They're going to be playing every Saturday or a couple times a week, or with our last guest and her events, some things like that. So tell us more about that.
Well, the current athletes, when I work on the current athletes, they're obviously looking for increased performance. You know, there are aches and pains that I work with. The trainers are the main people that do the therapies. And then I have a good relationship with the head trainer at University of Miami, Tim Pike, who's terrific. And Tim's like, hey, doc, when you look at this is what we think is going on. And he'll actually bring people over. But I see all athletes, not just, I see divers, I see golfers, tennis players. I see all the athletes at UM down there. So when they come to me afterwards, they're broken, but in more ways than one. I had a ex-NFL guy, which I won't mention his name, but he came to me, and every joint in his body has arthritis. So for me at that point, it's like, let's see what kind of mobility we can give you. We're not getting them out of pain.
Right.
You know, they're doing their own thing. They're trying different potions, different lotions, different pills, different things to get out of pain. We're just trying to get them more range of motion to feel better for a couple days, a week, because they've already been broken for however many years doing their professional college sports.
And feeling good on a golf course, very important. Sure. Being relaxed. If you're in pain, that's not happening. So tell us more about how you get people to that next level of and also the maintenance. The preventive maintenance is a big part of your practice.
Of course. And with golfers, again, we're not just spine docs, or at least mine offices, and most chiropractors are, but we do extremity adjusting. So somebody comes in, yes, your back hurts, but how about your wrist? How about your shoulder? How about your elbow? Golfer's elbow is very common.
Knees, ankles.
So we also utilize a low-level laser in our office, a machine called an Aspen laser. And the laser actually helps heal tissues quicker so they get the golfers back on the golf course. So for instance, if they have a golfer's elbow, which is an inside elbow pain, we'll do a combination of the laser with that. We'll do some kinesio-tape, laser rock tape for that to support them. And that allows them to be pain-free, good range of motion while they're golfing and recovering. So we're part of their, we still want people to golf unless they have some disc issues currently or have a hot disc. But we're trying to keep people in a normal range of motion so the body can heal. And that's the purpose of chiropractic adjustments along with the rock tattoo.
Very cool.
One of my favorite moments of going with a chiropractor was, the initial assessment. And, you go through x-rays and all kinds of things. And this chiropractor was describing what all of my issues were. And he was perfectly describing the human impact position for golf. His head was higher than his hip, and your spine worse. Yeah, I'm in that position. That's why I'm here.
It's that bad. I was just yesterday working on a tennis player down at UM, and he says to me, well, why is it just on this side? I said, well, what hand do you use?
Yeah.
You're a right-handed tennis player. You're going to get this on the left lower back. You're going to get this up in the upper back. You're going to get this in your shoulder. And then another thing that's important, too, is to know where tennis, for instance, are you a two-hand backhand swinger, or are you just swing with one hand? Because that also biomechanically will tell you other things, too. Most golfers aren't going to hit right, they go left. No. Side note, I did. And that I used to be so bad, I'd switch lefty to righty, and I'm still bad, but I love playing golf. But most of them aren't going to switch. So what I tell my golfers is, if you're going to go out and say you're a right-handed golfer, take some cuts left-handed. No, don't hit a ball. Just to preset your body to get it ready. Because we're just so one-side dominant. And that's the problem with golf.
That has become a practice these days, especially when trying for speed, for trying to gain more power. Using speed sticks, they have you swing right-handed and left-handed.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a professional thing that but the weekend golfer doesn't know that. They just see something on TV for $49 and say, maybe that'll be good for me. And
right.
Most time don't even know how to use it.
That was $199, and I was told by two different pros to buy it and do it. So they know, right? They're swinging the club, 700, 800, 1,000 times a day, or whatever it is to be a pro golfer.
To that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And Reg Rogers and you both told me, get that. And I think Jason Taylor, our PGA personal trainer, said the same thing. He was yeah, exactly. And so $199, not $49, but it seems to be helping me out. So I like those. Maybe we'll get them as a sponsor, and I'll actually say the name of it.
Speed tips.
I'm writing them a letter, right?
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug, but they didn't even pay for it. One of the questions we like to ask is, I know you have kids. My kids are younger, 14 and 8. I want my kids to play golf and use that as a business skill later in life, especially since they're both super extroverts and may wind up as sales guys like their dad. What would you say to my kids about how important it is to play golf for networking in a business?
So my youngest just picked up golf about 9 months ago, and he's already shot in 70s. Well, just picked it up. He realized as a sophomore in high school that basketball might not be his thing for college, but he can get a scholarship for golf. And now he's on the golf course every day. The course that we go to has a youth membership. He's literally on there every single day. And sometimes if it's raining, he's still there too. But what I'm explaining to him is, yes, it's going to get you maybe to that next level of college. And he's already been set up for being that type of thing. But, in life, you're on the course and you're networking. Life is about networking. And the better you can network, the better you are going to be in business and knowing your customer as well. And I know we talked about networking before. One of the best networking advice that I ever got was from my cousin, who's a very successful entrepreneur. He's one of those people that, it's just money comes, the ideas come, he's not scared to try it, it turns into something else. But he told me, whenever you meet somebody, he puts it in their phone and writes a couple things about them. Like, why he stay in his bath, or the two kids they swim, or whatever it might be. So he runs into this person 9 months later. He'll look in his phone quickly and say, "Hey, how was that trip that you went to Italy?" And the guy's like, "What? This guy remembered that? That was like 9 months ago." But it's a little trip. And I do the same thing in my practice. Somebody comes in on a card. And so Drew comes in. Drew comes out, "Oh, 2 kids, white, blah, 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 likes to play golf. Hey, Drew, how's the golf been?" or whatever. And even though I remember it most of the time, it makes you look even better and like you care about what the person does and what they're thinking. And I think it's important just to be personable and to treat the janitor like you treat the president.
Yeah, phenomenal advice. And, you know, I'll have to show this to my kids over and over until it absorbs, right? So I get we've had other guests say, "Hey, you know, tell your kids, do you want to be rich or do you want to be poor? If you want to be rich, learn to play golf now."
That's okay. That's pretty far there.
So, what about and you gave some good business advice and tips and golf advice. What books have you read that made an impact, or what do you want to recommend to our viewership?
So I'm not a big book reader.
Okay.
I used to love Zig Ziglar and everything Zig put out, and obviously he's not with us anymore. I'm more into articles and medical journals and different studies and trying to be the best that I can be. Because the more up to date that I am on my practices, on my technology, the better it's going to help my patients and my business in turn. So we try to, and taking risk in life. I mean, I've last 7 years, I've moved my business, which is scary. I've added different technologies that obviously cost more. I had personal things in my life happen, and just taking those extra risks, it's just made it so much better for me now. So,
Taking risks, I don't know how I got to the
risk, but taking risks is also something I think that I would tell my 20-year-old self. I think we talked about,
Yep.
if you're talking about your old, 2-year-old self, but
What I'm hearing you say is always be working on your trade craft and always be improving, which is exactly what we do on the golf course as well. We aspire to do on a golf course.
it's always like 5 things I'm thinking about doing. Like, okay, get your grip right, or get this right, or okay, the club's too high, or whatever. So it's like 5 different things. If I get every those 5 things right, I actually get the ball pretty darn well.
And there you go.
And every once in a while, you don't lay up, you go for it.
That's correct.
Bo, it's been a pleasure. Always welcome back anytime.
Appreciate it.
And
Thank you so much.
Let's get on to the golf course and shoot the next one out there.
I will try.
There.
Sounds good.
Thanks again, Bart.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.